Okay, now that we've reviewed triple-E liquids, we're going to move into part 2 of the video, in which we're going to talk about Clearomizers. Your Clearomizer is actually where you put your eLiquid. And I'm going to take this opportunity to show you the Clearomizer and explain to you why triple Clearomizers are different than some of the competitive products offered out there. I'm going to talk to you about packaging and care for your ce5 Clearomizer, and also how to fill and maintain your Clearomizer. Here you see the actual packaging of the Clearomizer. The Clearomizer will come in a 5-pack that looks like this. And the 5-pack will have a dot indicator for color. We actually offer colors in purple, blue, smoke, which is a grayish color, green, yellow, clear, and red. So on the 5-pack here, which you may not be dealing with all that much, you'll probably more so be dealing with the individual Clearomizer. On the 5-pack, you'll see the color indicator and a dot sticker here on the front. Inside your 5-pack of Clearomizers, you will see the individual Clearomizer. The way to identify the color of the individual Clearomizer is going to be through the see-through window on the front of the packaging. The see-through window will show you what color is actually in that particular box. Customers will be purchasing individual Clearomizers. Typically when you purchase your first Ego Vape Kit, you're going to be looking at purchasing Clearomizers as well. The reason for that is many customers like to put different flavors in different Clearomizers, and they'll carry those with them based on their mood and what their taste desires are to vape at that particular point in time. They will switch out their Clearomizer to satisfy their individual needs. So your Clearomizers come in the 7 different colors that I explained to you, and it's basically based on customer desire what colors they like. Your triple vape kit will actually have a Clearomizer in it already. Your vape kit comes completely ready for you to start vaping. Your Clearomizer, there's one Clearomizer included in the actual vape kit. The Clearomizer will last the customer 4 to 6 weeks, depending upon how heavily they use it. Now, some customers that vape all day, every day, will like to switch out their Clearomizers more often because it will start vaping a little bit less as the Clearomizer, has heavy usage and it's used continuously. So there are customers that will allow their Clearomizers to last for 4 to 6 weeks. They're lighter users. There are also customers that will change out their Clearomizers weekly. It really depends upon the individual customer. Typically, average is a Clearomizer will last 3 to 6 weeks. Clearomizers can be filled with multiple eLiquid flavors. There is no actual set amount of eLiquid flavors you can put in. Basically, if I want to vape a watermelon cherry blueberry mix, I can absolutely do that in one Clearomizer. I'm going to explain to you how to fill your Clearomizer, but there's a couple of things before I get into that I want to explain are the benefits to triple Clearomizers versus some of the competitor Clearomizers out there and other brands of Clearomizers. One of the biggest selling points to triple Clearomizers is that as you look closely to it, you all have this in your packet, you can see that there are no wicks in the triple Clearomizer. The wicks tend to taste burnt after they're vaped for an extended period of time because a wick actually tends to get dry and burnt and it doesn't last as long. So many customers that use a wick, when they actually transition to a wickless Clearomizer, they understand that it is a better vaping experience altogether. You can actually mix flavors easier with a wickless Clearomizer versus a Clearomizer with a wick. The reason is that the wick will become saturated with whatever flavor you put in it. So if you're actually mixing flavors or you want to put a new flavor altogether in, and you've started out with a traditional tobacco and you're putting a fruit flavor in, it's actually going to taste like that tobacco because the wick becomes saturated with that flavor. With a ce5 Clearomizer without the wick, you can actually dump out the eLiquid, put a new flavor in, and after you vape it a couple of times, you actually don't taste the previous flavor. So ce5 technology, which is what is offered in Tripl Vape Kits and Tripl Clearomizer selections, they're actually the better Clearomizer for your customer based on the fact that they last longer. They do not burn out as quickly as a wick Clearomizer, and they're just basically altogether better technology. It offers a better throat hit, a better vaping experience for the consumer. So I've talked to you now about your Clearomizer, why the Clearomizer that you're offering here through Tripl is better than some of the other Clearomizers that are offered on the market today. I've explained to you the Wickless technology versus with a wick. I've explained to you the packaging and how to identify the color of the Clearomizer. I've also talked to you about the variety of colors that we offer. And now I'd like to move into actually teaching you how to fill your Clearomizer. Here I have the Citrus Sunrise 2.4% eLiquid. To start, you're going to actually take the plastic off, the wrapping off. That's just a childproof safety feature to identify that it hasn't been tampered with in any way. You're simply going to remove the cover. And inside you see here that you have your tip here that is actually what you're going to fill your Clearomizer from. And in your Clearomizer, there's a couple of things before you fill it that I want to bring to your attention. You must fill your Clearomizer from the top. You never want to fill the Clearomizer from the bottom. There are some tanks and atomizers on the market that you fill from the bottom, but the ce5 and the Ego kits that you're offering, you do not fill these devices from the bottom. So you're going to take off the tip. This is the tip of the Clearomizer. And when you look into your Clearomizer, you will see that there is a metal ring in there. There's a little metal hole on the top of your Clearomizer. When you're filling your Clearomizer, you want to be sure that you're not getting any eLiquid in that middle center ring. This is all part of the instructions on the back of the Ego kit, so if anybody actually is questioning how to fill, it is on the back of their kit. But you may get questions from customers on how to fill, so I do think it is important for me to explain it to you. So you're simply going to take your bottle of eLiquid and fill to the 1.6 line. There are line indicators on the side of your Clearomizer. You want to be careful not to overfill your Clearomizer. On the first fill of your Clearomizer, it is important to make sure you do fill it to the 1.6 line. The reason for that is all of your eLiquid, because it's a brand new Clearomizer, is going to saturate this Clearomizer. There's little holes in the middle of the Clearomizer that actually soak up the eLiquid and saturate this particular Clearomizer. So it's important when you fill it for the first time that you're not filling it to one of these lower lines, because you will get a dry taste and it'll taste kind of burnt on your first couple of inhales if it's not filled properly. So now that we understand we're going to fill it to the 1.6 line, we're going to avoid getting any eLiquid in the middle center ring. And if you do get eLiquid in the middle center ring, it will not ruin the Clearomizer. What I simply recommend is a Q-tip or a paper towel and simply dab it in there to soak up the eLiquid that you may have gotten in the middle center ring, and then you're good to go. The only thing you may experience if you do get liquid in the middle center ring for the first couple of vapes after you've tried to dry it out It will slurp just a little bit, and then after that has become dry because you've inhaled it and vaped it a few times, it will actually go back to normal and be vaping like it should. So now I'm going to show you how to actually fill your Clearomizer. We have our bottle of eLiquid. We've taken the tip off our Clearomizer. We recognize we're trying to avoid getting any eLiquid in the middle center ring. We're going to take the tip of the eLiquid bottle, like I explained to you. There's a reason that there's a tip there, so that it can be easier for customers to tilt the bottle and not get any liquid in that middle center ring. So now I'm actually going to fill my Clearomizer, and I'm just slowly inserting the liquid, avoiding the middle center ring, until I see that it actually has hit the 1.6 line. And now that I have it there, it's perfectly filled to the 1.6 line with my 2.4 Citrus Sunrise flavor. I'm going to take my black tip, put it back onto my Clearomizer. If there is any eLiquid that actually spills off to the side, you can take a paper towel, napkin, whatever, and just remove that. eLiquid, getting the eLiquid on your skin will not harm you in any way. There is not direct correlation between the nicotine and your skin. This is a diluted solution. It will not harm your customers if they get it on their skin. I've gotten it in my eye. I've had it accidentally drip into my mouth. I've gotten it on my hands. I've never had a reaction whatsoever, nor have any of my customers ever called me with a reaction based on the eLiquid. Obviously, we're not going to promote consuming it. We're not going to promote bathing in it. No pun intended. We're going to make sure that people are being responsible with it. However, there is no harm to the eLiquid getting in contact with your skin. All of our bottles will be childproof, like I explained to you, so that after you put the cover back on, it is still childproof. You actually cannot open the bottle unless you push down and twist it again, and then you can open it. So all of our bottles are childproof to avoid any children swallowing the eLiquid. So now we've filled our ce5 Clearomizer. What we're going to do now, which is something that I would recommend to any customer on first usage of a Clearomizer, is to let the eLiquid saturate the Clearomizer for, I would say, about 3 to 4 minutes before you actually start vaping with it. If the customer doesn't do this, and I do recognize that many of them won't because they're going to be excited to get started on their vaping experience with their eLiquid and triple-ecig, if they do not wait the 3 to 5 minutes before they start vaping, what will happen is simply on the first couple of inhales of the actual eLiquid, it will taste slightly burnt. And the reason for that is that, like I explained to you before, the eLiquid has not completely saturated the Clearomizer. So after they vape it a couple of times, it will become saturated and it will not taste that way any longer. So now I've explained to you your Clearomizers, how to use them. There are a couple of additional things you may get questions on. How do I care for it? Can I rinse it out in the sink? You actually cannot rinse out your ce5 Clearomizer in the sink. The reason for that is it is not a rebuildable unit. There are rebuildable units out on the market today that people can rinse in the sink and buy certain parts to rebuild and continue using that same device. ce5 Clearomizers are not rebuildable. However, what you can do is you can dump out the eLiquid, refill them. You can take a paper towel and try to clean within the top of the Clearomizer. Some people like to do that. It allows them to use them a little bit longer. However, when your vaping experience becomes less vapor, less satisfying, and you're recognizing that your Clearomizer isn't working as well, that is when it is time to purchase a new Clearomizer. So hopefully I've answered all of your questions about ce5 technology and Clearomizers.